Hi all, I am Lissy, my partner Code Pro. So we just planned on starting a new channel on GIS. We call it GIS for Geeks. Here, so we'd like to bring across some concepts on GIS and remote sensing. So we'd like to do a lot of videos for you. So please help us thrive. Please like our videos. Comment on what you feel about the videos. Share if you know something about the topic in the comment section. Subscribe to our channel. Share the videos amongst people whom you know are interested to learn. But please do support us, because we really like to get across more and more of whatever we know to you. So let's just get into our first topic, that is introduction to GIS. So yeah, I must say we're bringing it to you with a lot of love. So yeah, before we get into the nitty-gritties of the word, the happening term GIS itself, let's do a small activity which will help you perhaps understand GIS a little better. So now you see the rectangle there. Now assume that is a virtual paper. That's a paper given to you, and there are 3 points: a red point, a green point, and a blue point. Now the activity is as simple as this. You have to locate the position of these 3 points on this virtual paper. Wait, are you a little perplexed, confused, and you don't know where to start? Well, don't be. I will give you a small hint. Probably that hint might make the problem a little simpler. So I will say locate these 3 points with respect to a reference point, and I am setting the reference point to be the bottommost left point of the virtual paper. Well, now that makes the problem a little simpler to solve, and you know where to begin from. Well, what would you do? And if I were you, I would have divided that virtual paper into multiple grids, Cartesian plane, however you like to call it. And then, yeah, so you have your paper there with grids, equal size grids. We have 20 on the x-axis, we have 28 on the y-axis. Now, it's very easy for us to locate these 3 points because we have a reference system and we have a reference point. So yeah, I can easily say the position of the red point is 15 and 25. 15 on the x-axis and 25 units on the y-axis. Similarly, the green and the blue. Now, let's do the next level, that is one more level of complication. Let's add one more level of complication to the same exercise. Now let's say, now we located points previously. Now let's say we have to locate a city on the map of India. So the paper that you saw previously was a rectangle. India has its own dynamic geometry, and India is huge. The country is huge. So they've represented it on a map to a certain scale. Now imagine plotting that city. It sounds a little hard, right? But what if I tell you it is not as hard as you think it is? Because whatever we did previously, something similar can be adapted here also, and on the same principles we can locate a city also. Yeah, you see that? That's the map of India. So just like how we divided it into equal grids, some genius men and women back then, they made maps and they made a reference system. So these are all your reference lines. So what you see going from the right to left or left to right, they are called latitudes. What you see going from top to bottom, they're all called the longitudes. And there is a reference for all the latitudes. It starts from the equator, and the longitudes, the reference is the Greenwich that passes through England. So that is a whole other new topic which probably we can, ace when we looking at projections. But yeah, to begin with, this is all you need to know. Like how previously we divided the virtual paper into grids, even the map is divided into grids. So it is easy for us to locate. Now imagine I want to locate a certain city in the state of Gujarat. So what will I do? Let me just Okay, let's say we are locating Gandhinagar in Gujarat. So let us look into a enlarged map of Gujarat. Now you see Gandhinagar is there. So now how do I exactly tell the position of Gandhinagar in this map? So on the x-axis it is somewhere in between 22° north and 24° north. So that is, let's say, 23.2, and on the y-axis it is somewhere between 72 east and 73 east. So 70 somewhere in between. So 72.5. You've got it right. So that's how you locate a city. Now, but still there's an asterisk mark. Mind you, previously we located a point. Unlike a point, a city, any city or any place has a length, has width. A city spans some area. So 23.2 north and 72.5 east is not the only coordinates of Gandhinagar, because Gandhinagar is huge. Perhaps it covers an area like this. It spans the whole area like that. So it will be somewhere close to 23.12-ish, 72.56-ish. So yeah, that doesn't mean, the asterisk mark here simply says that doesn't mean the whole of Gandhinagar has only one coordinate. Different places in Gandhinagar will have different coordinates, like how you saw the Indian map and then we zoomed into the Gujarat state, and again you can go one step further and look into the map of Gandhinagar. So coordinates are unique for different places. So if you've gotten this right, you've understood the most basic concept of geography, that is location, that is locating. Then it will be very easy for us to answer the $1,000,000 question. What is GIS? Well, GIS is simply expanded as Geographic Information System. Let's simply split it into 3 words. Geographic Information System. What is geography? Until now we saw what geography means. Providing address or location or coordinates, tying it to a location, that is geographic. Any data becomes spatial or geographic the moment you attach coordinates to it. So that is called geographic information. Well, human race is blessed with I don't know how much data. So you have all the raw data sets available. How you make use of these data sets in order to do a successful analysis, how these data can give you facts, that is information. System is anything that takes in input and gives you output. See, that's where we use our brains. So you feed garbage into the system, it gives you processed garbage. You feed in anything, it processes it and gives you the output according to what you feed. So system is not to be blamed if your analysis is not proper. So if you want to look into a very detailed, lucid explanation of GIS, here is how you can define it. It is a generic digital information framework which involves the art of storytelling, focusing on 4 main aspects. One is making a location specific data, second is managing the data, third and the most important aspect is analyzing the data, the fourth aspect is illustrating it on a map. Okay, let's look at it word by word. Generic. When I say generic, what does it mean? It means it can be applied in various fields to do lot of stuff, lot of different stuff. Later, further in the further slides, we will see, this word will really be justified. Digital. The whole idea of creating this framework called GIS was to bring it on a digital platform, because before GIS came into existence, all the maps were analog, they were all on piece of paper. So having everything, having lot of layers, various maps on papers, handling so many maps was really cumbersome. So the whole idea of creating GIS was to handle multiple data sets in a very easy manner. So digital makes that happen, and hence digital information framework, which involves the art of storytelling. I must say, this is just like storytelling. It's just like how an author, he conceives a story, he writes it, and he breaks it down into various chapters, and he illustrates it so that you understand his idea very clearly. You can relate GIS. Once you get into GIS, you will exactly know what I'm trying to tell you. It's as beautiful as storytelling. So the first aspect is making location specific data. Now the framework, the GIS framework itself, is designed in such a way that it can handle a lot of data from various sources. Sources can be like the data you've gotten can be a satellite imagery, it can be from survey, it can be open source data you get online, or it can be ground truth data. It can be various forms of data from various sources. So after you've procured various formats from various sources, it becomes very important for you to manage the data, putting it all on one platform so that it becomes very easy for you to access it and store it for your further analysis purpose. So that is the most once you collect the data, that becomes the most important aspect. Now you have gathered the data and you have stored the data. The third aspect is analyzing it. So we have a lot of data sets. We need to be smart enough to pick and choose data that is relevant for our analysis. Analysis doesn't end at just the data sets, just with the data sets or that specific time frame of the data set given to you. With the existing data sets, with sufficient temporal data sets, you would be in a state of perhaps predicting what would happen in the near future. That is called modeling and future predictions. Now once your analysis is done and it is successful, putting it on a map becomes very important. Because why? A map is a drawing that talks about the geography, right? So the moment you put your analysis on the map, it will be very clear for anybody to understand it. And mind you, the most important aspect of making a map, it has to cater to your user's need. You might have done a lot of analysis, but if your user wants to see only one aspect, the end result on the map, that is all you have to cater to. So that is the most important aspect while you're making map. So let's see an example. So that is the Indian map, which shows the literacy rate of year 2011. When people come down to your houses to collect census information, they ask you a lot of questions. But do you see, the map here only speaks about the literacy rate. Though you were asked so many questions, this map only speaks about literacy rate because that is what the user wanted. So yeah, and the map here is very clear. Anybody who sees it can understand. The lightest color here represents lesser literacy, and the legend says you how less than 75%. And the darkest color represents high literacy, that is above 90%. So it becomes very clear whatever was there in the analyst's mind has come out as a pictures. And no wonder they say map can speak 10,000 words. Without any description, this map just spoke a lot for itself. So if this is one of the most basic things I think GIS platforms can do, it can do some really fancy stuff too, like delineating a watershed, and it can also interpolate temperature. These are all some complicated processes probably which we will touch upon say in future videos. It can also give you percentage pervious and impervious surfaces. So I am just giving you a handful example of stuff that GIS is capable of doing. It can do lots of stuff that I can't even begin to tell. So yeah, this is what we are doing in 2020. But where did it all originate? When did it all begin? So let us see the history of GIS. So it all began in 1832 when Charles Picquet he decided to map the cholera outbreak in 48 districts of Paris. Inspired by this, further in 1854, Dr. John Snow mapped the cholera outbreak in London. Except this was a little more detailed map. How, we will look into it in the further slides. Further, for roughly next 100 years, that is between 1854 to 1960, nothing significant happened in the GIS phenomena. Nothing specific happened. Mapping was still paper based. In 1950, for the first time, they started using maps for navigation. So later in 1963, Roger Tomlinson, whom we call the father of GIS, he coined the word called GIS, Geographic Information System, and this was developed to map the natural resources of Canada. So between 1964 and 1965, Howard Fisher at Northwestern University in the States created the first computer-based mapping software known as SciMap. In 1969, Jack Tangemont, a member of Howard Lab, along with his wife, founded this company known as ESRI, Environmental Systems Research Institute. They were the first ones who sort of integrated computer-based mapping and spatial analysis, which could help planners and land resource managers to make decisions. Further, in 1981 to 1990, computer became more powerful, so ESRI could improve their tools and softwares and make them more powerful. In 1990 and in between 1990 and 2010, adoption of GIS became mainstream. A lot of IT advancements led to further developments of GIS softwares. Data started being freely available. Between 2010 and 2018, massive open online data started being available. Lot of data, like I told you, lot of data from lot of sources. Today, I just showed you few of the very basic stuff that we could do using GIS. So we have a lot of things that we can do. One small example is all of us been using GIS and we're probably unaware. Most of us are using it every day. For instance, Uber cabs, Swiggy, tracking shipments, tracking your couriers, tracking your Amazon packages. All of this has GIS, the whole system embedded in it. I think pandemic and GIS, healthcare and GIS have always been jinxed. Since 1832, that is when Charles Picquet did his heat map to show the cholera outbreak in 48 districts of Paris, inspired by which Dr. John Snow showed the cholera outbreak in London, to today where people have been exploiting maps to show corona outbreak. So let's see how Dr. John Snow did that. So first what he did, he got all the streets. He took the street map of London. He marked out all the houses where the residents were affected with cholera, and then he marked these red blotches. So bigger the blotch, that means more number of cases there, severe the case there. And then he added a layer of water bodies. So now what would you infer from this map? Well, okay, I will give you one hint. We all know how is cholera caused. It is caused by drinking water that is contaminated by this bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. Until Dr. John Snow could actually prove that water cholera is a waterborne infection, people always thought it was airborne. He's a physician. John Snow is a physician. He definitely didn't want to agree. So this whole map sort of helped people to realize what he'd been telling from a long time. So you see that one infected tank caused lot of cholera incidents around that one tank. So obviously your next question is, okay, so what can anybody do about it? How is this going to help in taking any decision? So obviously once the government knows that one particular water body or one particular tank was causing so much problem and caused cholera around in the surrounding areas, so it became very easy for the decision makers to shut this tank off and supply water from other tanks, or reroute water to all these facilities and all these houses from other tanks. So you see how in a smallest of small way GIS can help take huge decisions. Let's look how another pandemic has been tracked using GIS. This is a map prepared by Esri. In fact, you can go on to Esri's dashboard and look at the real-time interactive map which tracks the corona spread, the corona outbreak in the states. So yeah, so if you see some of the states like Washington, California, Texas, I think Pennsylvania, New York, District of Columbia, these are all very badly hit. So in these states, we know Philadelphia, New York, Houston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Denver, all these are some of the big metropolitan cities in the state. So what might be the reason? What do you think is one plausible reason that could have caused such huge outbreaks in some of these huge metropolitans? Probably one reason could be the number of immigrants coming into these places from an already affected country. Yeah, so shall we compare these two on two maps? So now that is the map of corona outbreak, and do you see that is the immigrants map for the United States? We've got the data between 2014 to 2018. If you look at it, only some states which have high immigrants has been really affected. So yeah, for instance, if you see California, it is high, where it has the highest number of immigrants, people coming from other country. But yeah, so does New York. But here in the east, the cases look much severe than in the west. So this might be one of the plausible reason. The other reason, we all know corona spreads due to lesser maintenance of social distancing. So one reason could be larger population. Perhaps people migrated from different COVID struck places to New York, which is extremely densely populated, and probably this caused a bigger outbreak. So let's look at a population map. If you look at the population density map, do you see this whole area? See blue, it represents persons per square kilometer or square mile. So you have about if it's blue, you have about roughly 500 people per square mile. So do you see this whole eastern coast here from Boston to Philadelphia? You see that one reason is people from COVID stuck countries, they came to these places, and the population is so closely knit that it easily spread there. It just grew. The outbreak was so massive. So along with immigrants, higher number of immigrants, this was probably one of the other reasons. So if you see here again, if you see in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, these are all the places. Denver, Seattle, Portland, if you see any place that has higher population, it shows the outbreak, it shows severity in the outbreak. Chicago here, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, here you have Houston. So any place that's marked in blue here, also you see the severity of corona. So by comparing such data, you can chalk out the multiple plausible reasons that a pandemic like this would have spread. So one of it was immigrants, the other one was population density. So now when this is very clear, when I know two major reasons, it is very easy for me as a governing body, as a person working in the governing body or a decision maker, to strategize decisions for these places. I know the population is very high. Is there something I can do to tighten the social distancing norm? If there is a place which does not have, very large population density, even then, if the COVID cases are high, is there something I can do about it? So it becomes very easy for me to make my decisions according to the reasons that I have seen. So, and it becomes very clearly explained. So instead of me telling it orally, like in New York there is the outbreak is because of this, perhaps in the West the outbreak is because of this, this map here becomes very self-explanatory, and it tells me, it corroborates with the reason. The corona map here corroborates with the population density map. Parts of it also vouched for the immigrants. So these two are the strong reasons. Now if we want to further do an analysis, let's take the city of New York, which is I think the worst hit. They call it the epicenter of the corona pandemic in the United States. If you want to look at the example of the city of New York in the New York state, let's see this. So this is the corona map, the map showing the corona outbreak, the number of cases. Darker the color, higher the severity. So now what we just saw from the previous analysis, for the whole country, wherever the population density was very high, the outbreak was also very high. Now we look if the trends are same for New York. Why did that happen? Was the trend same? Was it the density itself that mattered? If you see here, Manhattan is shown in red. So whatever is in from blue to red, blue is lesser population density and red is higher population density. We've got the population density of 2010. So Manhattan and Bronx, I think, have very high population density. Whereas if you look at the corona map here, Manhattan doesn't really have a lot of cases. Staten Island is comparatively the least dense area, but it shows a lot of active corona cases. This is as per the rate as per 27th April 2020. Staten Island has comparatively less density. Even if you look at this area, the Queens, this area in the Queens has lesser density, but do you see that the corona cases are really high there? So is really population density the only reason? Could there be something else? So the New York Health Department states there are 730 cases per 100,000 people in Manhattan, whereas Staten Island reports 1644 cases per 100,000 people. Why this anomaly? Could there be another reason? There might be. So density is not the only reason. What sort of density also matters. So if the area, like if you areas like Manhattan, which is extremely dense, yes, accepted, but the density there is an urban rich density. People are working, people, they can afford to good healthcare, they can afford to good supplies, they can still stay at home and take care of their daily needs. So if you look at the income here, Manhattan is sort of filled with people who earn really well, they're self sufficient. Whereas if you see probably this area of Staten Island, not so great. Perhaps people there are not doing so great. Even if you look at this area of Bronx, Bronx also had higher density. Along with it, it also has a couple of urban poor people. These people, they cannot fend for themselves, so they have to come onto the streets for food, for basic supplies. So that way, social distancing is not taken care of. They are affected very soon, and these people are vulnerable because they can't really afford good health facilities, good healthcare facilities. So yeah, so that could add on, that could be another layer. It is not just the density, the type of density also matters. If the whole city, for instance Manhattan, is filled with people who are rich, they can take care of themselves, though Staten Island is not very dense when compared to Manhattan, people are still suffering there because people are not able to spend, they're not able to take care of themselves, and they don't have money. So while that is one layer, New York is also seen if ethnically, if ethnicity is affecting corona in any way. But luckily there are no trends, so Caucasians here in Staten Island, or they are also spread across Manhattan. There are Hispanics, a few Hispanics here in Bronx, they're African Americans. Some of the other states, they connected, they link COVID cases and racial data, but luckily according to the studies conducted by the health department, uh, COVID and ethnicity did not have a lot of correlation. So like this you can assess lot of layers, and it will help you know, it will help you boil down to, you know, one or two strong reasons that is causing a particular phenomena. Like for instance, density, what sort of density? So we knew the poor people were affected, so is there something, is there some decision or you can take in order to strengthen the economy until this severity comes down amidst urban poor? So this way it will help the decision makers analyze and come and you know, take a proper decision for problems. This is how GIS helps in making decisions. So the best part now, until now, what you saw, the best part of GIS is CAD CAM integration along with spreadsheet. Now we'll look at an example of how interesting it is with the water network for Langley Town in the United States. This, what I'm showing you here, is a drawing, is the water network drawing for the town of Langley in the United States. So and because I told you it was the town of Langley, you got to know it was the town of Langley, and you still don't know what these pipes are, what sort of pipes, what materials it is. So what you have to do, the moment someone gives you a CAD CAM drawing, you will have to open the spreadsheets. So you have to juggle between them. Probably this is pipe 1, so you will go look at this and you'll see, oh, that is made of, you know, that material, it has that much discharge, whatnot. So you have to keep juggling between the drawing, the spreadsheets, and I must tell you, spreadsheets are really boring. Nobody likes to go over and over the spreadsheets, or keep toggling between, you know, two softwares. It is really cumbersome. But you look at that, that is how interesting GIS is, that is how easier the life is when you start using GIS. So this is the drawing, this is your CAD drawing, and this is the spreadsheet. The moment I select this particular line or this particular pipe, all the details about it is given. When was it installed? what is the life cycle, what is the project number, what is the diameter, what is the material it is made of, what is the discharge capacity, everything is so easily drafted, it's put together. And the best point is it also has the location. So if I don't really tell you that it belongs to Langley, you can actually get to know because the map is there below. That is the best part of GIS. Everything is location specific, everything has location attached to it, and every element on your ArcGIS window has some attribute attached to it. So you don't have to keep toggling between your spreadsheet. It is a combination of drawing plus spreadsheet. The perks you get here is the location also. So let's see who all can use this technology. This is a very small number. I've just jotted down few of the uses. There are tens of thousands of users. A lot of people use it. For instance, in engineering and governing, GIS is used in transport planning and management, utility network management, property tax maintenance, education system, healthcare facility, and banking. In environment, you can use it to track forest fire, you can do environmental impact analysis, natural resource management, disaster management and mitigation, watershed simulation, and you can also use it for geology. In land management, you can do wealth and asset management, community development, agricultural applications, pest control and maintenance, surveying and photogrammetry. For delivery systems, dairy industries use it, shipment transport facilities, Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy, Panda. For travel and leisure, you use it for navigation, Uber cabs, Ola cabs, travel guide maps. All of these and many more industries, they use GIS. Now do you know, like in the previous slide I told you GIS was generic. Now does it sort of does it set in? Can you actually connect when I call it generic, why it is generic? Lot of fields, lot of diverse fields can use GIS. So okay, now we saw the uses, we saw all the analysis, few examples of analysis, when did it originate. So now the next obvious question is, what are the softwares, what are the available softwares? So we have a list of open source softwares which wouldn't cost you a dime. All that you have to go is download it online and start using it. So few examples of open source softwares are QGIS, GrassGIS, and MapWindow. You have lot more. Some of the top examples. Some of these license software is where it'll cost you a fortune. You have to pay, you have to buy the license, and then you have to use it. This the Esri company that I was telling you about, they have this software called ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Desktop. There's also another license software called Global Mapper, and this is Manifold GIS. So these are a couple of free softwares and paid softwares that you have that you could use to do analysis. So that is about it. I think that gives you a fair idea about the introduction of GIS. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please tell us what you felt on the comment section below. Please like it, please subscribe to our channel and share the videos, and do add on if you know something more, or if you have any questions, please feel free to post it on the comment section. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Signing out. Bye bye, have a nice day, stay safe, stay home, take care.